They say dating after divorce is a minefield you should avoid until you're perfectly healed. But what if a simple confidence makeover is exactly the ultimate power move to attracting the love that you deserve right now? Welcome back. Welcome to Divorcing Strong, the podcast that pulls no punches when it comes to divorce. I'm Becky Sampson, better known as Bulldog Becky Brockovich, and I'm here to give you the straight talk, the strategies, and the subpoena secrets you won't hear anywhere else. With expert guests and proven advice, you'll learn your rights, your options, and gain your power that encourages a fair and equitable outcome. Divorce doesn't have to break you. It can build you. Let's get to it. Well, welcome everybody back to another episode of Divorcing Strong podcast. I am your host, Becky Sampson. And gosh, today is a very special episode for me because the guest that I'm bringing on today is somebody that I interviewed so many years ago, before I even got married. I think the first time. No, it was actually, it was in between my first and my second, come to think of it now, because I worked for a online dating site interviewing dating experts across the country. And it's awesome that what she's gone on to do and what she's doing in her life and out there. She's still in the dating industry. So very happy about that. Also, just want to remind you, we are always live on Tuesday through Thursday. We have different episodes. We have experts around the country, attorneys, mediators, financial advisors to help you navigate the crazy waters of divorce. And this is no different. We're going to talk about something a little bit different today because we're going to be talking about, as you're transitioning into dating again after divorce, how do you flirt? How do you attract or not attract the same type of unhealthy behavior that maybe you just came out of? So we're going to dive in deep. So on today's episode of Divorcing Strong, I'm joined with Kimmy Seltzer. She's a confidence therapist, authentic dating strategist, and image expert who understands what happens when life breaks you open and asks you to reintroduce yourself to the world. Divorce doesn't just end a relationship. It's often dismantled identity, desirability, and the quiet confidence you once carried without thinking. Kimmy's work begins in that exact moment. With a background in a licensed therapist, a certified style coach, dating coach, and matchmaker, she developed what she calls is a confidence makeover, helping people rebuild attraction, connection, and self-trust from the outside in. She's the creator and the host of Quotient podcast, a TEDx speaker, and a nationally recognized media expert seen on Tamron Hall, ABC News, NBC News, Inside Edition, and more. But what makes Kimmy's perspective especially powerful for people going through divorce is that she doesn't treat confidence as something you fake until you feel it. She treats it as something you reclaim through presence, embodiment, and authenticity. So today we're going to be talking about what it really means to feel magnetic again after heartbreak, not for someone else, but for yourself. So stay tuned because conversation may shift how you walk into every room from here on out. So welcome to the show, Kimmy.
Thank you. Oh my God, this is so special, by the way.
I'm so excited.
I am so excited. And I didn't know you were called the Bulldog.
Bulldog Becky Brockovich.
You're the sexiest bulldog ever.
Well, you know what? Sometimes you have to. So one of the things I've learned is that you have to show your soft side to be a real bulldog anyway, because it's in that peaceful. It's not in the fight so much. It's literally your come from and your being that gets you what you need. At least in my opinion, that's the right way of doing it. So
you're preaching to the choir, sister, especially when it comes to dating, right? So I'm super excited to be here and have this discussion.
Oh, awesome. Well, so we met many years ago, and it's so exciting. I really do mean this when in the intro, is that it's so exciting that all these years later, I think it's 15 years, 14, somewhere on there, that you're still in the same industry and you're still working in the dating. And I love it. But you also have a story of your own. So kind of tell us where you came from, what got you here, and what makes you so passionate about helping people learn how to flirt after divorce.
I know it's so, it's weird when I always like hearing people read my intro because it reminds me of just where I've been. And
Yes.
while all those things, are great that you read about and talked about, I would not be here if it wasn't my own hot mess story. And honestly,
Yep.
like, especially with your audience, and for those of you out there who've been through a divorce or you're going through the divorce, I do want to share that that's why I'm so passionate about doing what I do. That's
Yep.
why all these years I still am doing what I do. And it's funny because I forget, like, when I meet people like you, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I have been doing it this long. And it's just, I keep going because when I got divorced, and I'll share my story with you, like, we didn't have these resources. We were
Yep.
talking about that off air. So, my story is I'm a good girl from Chicago, Midwest, and I lived a very traditional life. I mean, back then I worked as a therapist and I worked in different settings, helping many different kids and families and individuals. And I lived a very traditional life. I mean, I had the picket fence, the house, the dog, a couple of kids, the husband. I still have the kids. You see where the story's going. And everything was going on as planned. Like, I really thought that that was my life until we all picked up and we moved across the country. We plopped down here in La La Land. That's where I am, Los Angeles.
Mm.
And it was like immediately when we got here, it was like I joked, we did what all the other people here do. We get a divorce. I'm joking. Like, honestly, I like to blame LA. I would have been here anyway. I think it just sped up the process. But
Right.
here I was all alone in this new land with no friends, with two young children, not knowing what to do with my new life. And remember, I'm a therapist. It's kind of like being a lawyer. It's like I knew what I needed to do. I helped other people through it, but there I was. It was so different when I was faced with it. And I was a very confident woman up until that moment. And it was like the minute it happened, my confidence just shattered to the ground.
Which
And
is very normal for a lot of people.
oh my God, for everybody. Like, you could be the most
Mhm.
confident person, but this stuff really knocks you down. And
Mhm.
so I did first at what I knew to be true and what I taught and I preached, and that is doing the work, right? Like, I went to therapy. I had a group of friends. They rallied around me from back in Chicago, and I wasn't moving, right? Like, I was analyzing things, I was processing things, but I wasn't doing anything. And so people would come to me and they'd say, Kimmy, like, all right, like, the divorce is final. Like, maybe should just get out, get online, just start talking to guys. And I say, I'm just not ready. I'm doing the work.
Mhm.
Cut to a year later. Kimmy, like, okay, come on. It's been a minute. Like, maybe just get out there. And I say, no, you know what? I'm just doing the work. I'm not really ready. But
Which by the way, I think a lot of people feel that way. I mean,
no,
and we get a lot of pressure, especially when you're in the older age, right? You get a lot of pressure from friends and family going, come on, let's just get over that and move on. And you're like, I don't know if I'm ready for this.
well, right. And initially you're not really ready.
Right.
And what I learned, it was a very good lesson for me. Up until then, I believed in the inside out. I don't believe in that any longer. And I'll share with you why, because what
Mhm.
happened to me really changed my life. I realized after I was saying that out loud, I'm doing the work. Then it hit me. I'm like, what am I really doing? I'm listening to a bunch of podcasts, reading a bunch of stuff, going to therapy, rocking in a chair and saying, I'm doing the work, right? Like, so I
Mhm.
fell in this state of like analysis paralysis, but really I was just scared. I was scared of like, getting out there, like where to start, dating later in life as a later dater. Like, oh my God, the last time I dated was like in college when I was going to sorority and fraternity parties. Like,
When it's not the same. It is not
no,
the same.
I didn't know how to date, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And this is something I'm very passionate about. I just had been in a couple of relationships, which is very common for our, if you're over 40 for
Mhm.
our age group, because you back then you dated for the sake of like seeing if that person was your next partner that you could build a life with, and so that wasn't the case. And so I don't know what hit me, but like one day you just have this epiphany. Well, I woke up and I looked in the mirror and I was horrified at what I saw. It
Mhm.
like hit me like a strike of lightning. And there I was not wearing bright colors. I was all in black, maybe a splash of beige in my closet, but oversized clothes. I was still wearing the nursing bras. I wasn't nursing any longer, disheveled hair, flip flops. I was like, oh my God, I wouldn't date me. So how can I
Yeah.
expect a man to date me? So I decided to do something very untraditional. And in that moment, I decided to go shopping. Shopping therapy, right? Like
I was just gonna say that, shopping therapy, right? Especially
shopping
after a
ther
divorce.
Yeah. Well, and this is something that many people do, right? It's like, well,
Mhm.
get a little makeover of myself. So I go to the department store and I think I'm up leveling myself, but no, what am I doing? In my cart is all black clothes. Same pattern, same darn thing. And
Yeah.
I think I'm doing something different. And this personal shopper, she comes up to me. I now refer her as my guardian angel.
Mhm.
She knows those people in your life that just kind of change your moments.
Mhm.
And she went up to me. She said, "Ma'am, I've been watching you. And honestly, I really think you should try this on." And she holds up this bright red dress that looked like 3 sizes too small. Because, by the way, I lost a lot of weight too because I was so stressed out, which is also common. I call it the divorce diet, right? But I hadn't seen myself. Like, I literally wasn't like in my body for so
Mhm.
long. And I said, "That's so sweet of you, but that's really not my size and that's not my color." She says, "Honey, that is your size. That is your color. Try it on." Boom. Just
Wow.
like that. It was like she hit me over the head with that red dress. I call it my red dress moment. And this is something I teach all the time in my workshops. And as I'm like working with people, I want everyone to have a red dress moment. I hope that after people listening to your show, they have an aha moment. It's the moment that
Mhm.
you stop numbing out. It's the moment you wake up and it's the moment you take action. And I decided to do that. I grabbed that red dress. I said, "Okay, I'll try it on." And so I squeeze into it. I twirl around like Cinderella and I look in the mirror again. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm a princess." Like, it was that
Oh.
Cinderella moment that I had not seen myself like that in so long. It shook
Mhm.
me. It was like this visceral response in my body, and I decided to buy the dress that day. Not that I really believed it in that moment, but I'm like,
Right.
I'm gonna buy it and I'm just gonna wear it and see what happens. I feel different in this. So I did. I wore it as a costume. And I went everywhere. I went to the coffee shop in it. I walked my dog in it. I literally went everywhere. And then a funny thing started happening. Men started checking me out.
Okay, isn't that the funny see, Kimmy, you don't even know. So I lost 130 pounds out of my first marriage.
I
And so
do
I
remember
had
that.
very similar experience where it's like I always wore a black dress with a little like cover up thing. And I had the same exact experience. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have no idea how to respond to all of this like
Well,
attention.
it's so funny, Becky, because it hit me in that moment. Like this whole time, I was just thinking I wasn't ready, but I realized the readiness was just fear.
Yeah.
And I was using the black clothes as a
Yep.
cloak to keep me invisible from men because I was scared of being seen. So I'm like, gosh, I need to just get used to being seen. Forget learning how to date or going online or all the modern day tactics that all these gurus are teaching. I had to like who I saw in the mirror first. It wasn't about the men, it was about me.
Absolutely.
You
It's the
know,
inside job.
Well, but it came from the outside.
I know
See, and
that's what I love about you. You have that thing going. You usually think it's inside out, but what you experience is outside. You changed your outside, which then made your inside wake up.
yes, and that is the charisma quotient, which I'll go over later. But and so there was this symbiotic relationship I realized between the outer and the inner when it comes to confidence, that it's not superficial. How we
Mhm.
put ourselves out there, how we market ourselves, that's what my TEDx talk was about, is is really the direct gateway into one's confidence, and also the inner confidence. It's the
Mhm.
quickest way to really gain that confidence, because again, it's not enough to do the work internally. You
Mhm.
have to put yourself out there, the way that you flirt, the way that you dress, your energy, the way you interact with the world, the way you flirt with life. And if you're not marketing yourself, I don't care how good a job you're doing in therapy, love will pass you by because you are not putting yourself out there. So it was a hard lesson to learn. And like Dorothy kind of skipping down the yellow brick road, that was like kind of the first story and the first like kind of tool that I put in my toolbox. Buying the red dress, buying sexier clothes, but there was so much more I needed to learn to get down the road. And so I wanted to share that story, is that that's why I flipped the script. I work from the outside in, and know that you're not alone, that when your confidence is shot, you have to start small. It's not,
Mhm.
I hate when people are like, oh, just get back out there and date or just be more confident. I mean, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Right? That's super scary. Rather, it takes those small little steps that will add up to the bigger confidence overall, and repetition and accountability, of course. And that's where kind of my business was born. Obviously, there's a lot more to the story, but I wanted to share that because I'm with you all listening to this, right? Like I've been here, I've done that,
Well,
and
what I
I'm
love is that you had that moment of awakening and you took action, right? So
yes,
you were like, wait a minute, I didn't know what I didn't know, but once I knew it, I was like, all right, I'm going to take one tiny little step and go. And then, and I always say God can't drive a parked car. So I mean, like, your little angel showed up because you got into action and you went into the store, and all of a sudden this lady that was provided for you to go, look, hey lady, like, I don't know who you are, but this, I'm going to help you through this process. And really miracles happen at that point. So I love that about your story. And really it now you have a whole career around helping people gain their confidence when it comes to divorce. I mean, comes to just being confident within ourselves when it kind of comes to dating.
yeah, really, because I think the hardest part about getting back out there, especially if you're dating later in life or in the second act, as I call it, is that your mindset is still how you were before you met your
Right.
partner. And a lot of times people go out there and they're going out there as the relationship person looking for their next boyfriend or husband, and so focused on the man, so focused on dating, that they haven't got to know themselves and
Right.
who they are separate from their partner. Because your identity does get wrapped up in that partnerhood. And it's like, who are you beyond the partnership? And it's a time for reinvention. That's why I love the makeover process so much.
Yeah. So you do talk about the confidence makeover. Talk a little bit about that and what are the techniques with it?
Yeah, it's the first thing that I do. And so, what the charisma quotient is, I'll just kind of dive in there because it relates to the confidence makeover,
Yeah.
is that there's three pillars. And I start with the first pillar, and that's what I call style intelligence. It's your body language, it's the way you dress, it's just your sex appeal, it's your energy that you exude, it's the nonverbal signals that you're sending out to the world. And ladies, yes, that means to men. So, like, are you noticing men notice you even? Are you making eye contact? Are you smiling? It's like these little energetic things that will really help move the needle in this part of your life. And I work on the sexy confidence first from the
Mm.
outside. And once people feel it, then I go more inward and I work on emotional intelligence, which includes how we express ourselves, how we emote, how we allow men to feel us, using emotional triggers to create attraction, vulnerability, authenticity. It's like all those kind of juicy things that you hear about, in pop culture now. It's kind of become, streamlined, I would say, but I've been talking about this forever. But when it comes to dating, how it can be different, because, people are like, well, oh, just be vulnerable. But it doesn't mean TMI, right? It doesn't mean like going on a date and saying, oh, let me tell you about my horrible divorce, right?
Right. No, that's like an
Never a good
L. No,
idea.
no, 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 no.
Right. And then after that, I work on social intelligence, which is interpersonal communication. It's your social comfort. It's like your conversation skills. Like, are you able to move out of the friend zone into the flirt zone? Like, are you talking to men in a fun, playful, flirty way that also shows men that, oh my gosh, I want to date this woman? Or you're telling the guy, oh, she's somebody I want to date. And I find that that's a also common mistake, that a lot of people come out of divorce and they're scared. So they play it safe. Their conversations are, I'm sorry, but just boring. Like, it's like watching a LinkedIn exchange. Sometimes when I see people's Bumble accounts, I'm like, oh my God, there's nothing flirty about this.
No, and that's it. I don't know if you even know this, but around the time that I met you, I had written a book called What Men Really Want. Love Like a Lady is what it was called.
Oh, I
And
didn't know that. That's
one of
awesome.
the things that I loved in there, because it was all the stuff I had dated for 8 years and all these guys had given me advice. And one of the things was the confidence is being yourself. And so I love that you brought up the fact that, date yourself so that you know
Yeah.
yourself, so you can be yourself. And also another little term that I had was dating naked. I'd always say, I just want to date naked. Like, be real, be yourself, create a safe space for that person that you are across the table with, for them to feel that they can just put all of their, all of the stuff that we put up, when we're trying to impress people, but just be real. And it's so much more rewarding. And it really does. These guys are like, what? Who are you? I want to be with you. I want to spend more time with you.
Well, and to
Because
your point, can I just, I love that you said be real. I mean, there might be people listening to this and saying, yeah, but how can something feel real when it feels so foreign at the same time? Right.
Yep.
And so I want to share a story, and maybe this will help some of you listening. There was a woman that called me up. This was years ago. It's my favorite story I tell, because I really used like all the pillars of the charisma quotient to help her with her confidence makeover. And she hadn't dated in 25 years, and she met her husband young, and she raised the kids. She was busy at work. And 25 years later, after divorce, like, she's been single for 25 years. She's like, Kimmy, you're my last hope. Like, I just don't know where to turn. Like, I'm about to give up. I still have some life in me. I don't want to give up, but I'm scared, And so she came to LA and we did like an intensive together. I'm kind of like Hitch meets What Not to Wear, if you know those references.
Right.
And I do dating retreats too, because I love the immersive part of it, where I'm teaching people in the field how to do it. Because again, it's not enough to think it. You have to learn how to do it. And that's where the sticking power is, right?
Yep.
So, as a therapist, I like to go over just people's history. And it was really clear to me how much she was giving her power away. She had been married to a narcissist, and I could see some of the traits that she had that might, in my opinion, be very common for her to attract another one.
I was hoping that you'd say that, because I just spoke to a group last week about that very thing. Like, be careful of these traits, because that makes you vulnerable for the next one. So I'm glad that you brought that up, to be able to see that.
Yeah, well, her trait was that she was an overgiver, over caretaker. She was so always focused on her husband, men, others, and not enough of herself. And
Exactly.
she actually felt weird. And so when you're an overgiver, you attract takers. It's just, it's a common equation. And so she kept saying she was sorry, like during our conversations. I'm like, why are you saying you're sorry? Like, there's nothing to be sorry about. She's like, oh, I don't even realize I do that. Like, there was just different things. Anyway, before we dove into the whole process, I always do the shopping first. And as we're walking towards the big doors, the department store, she stops at the doors and she just welds up in tears and just freezes. And I said, what's up? She said, Kimmy, there's something I haven't told you. I said, what's that? She's like, I cover my mirrors at home. I haven't
She hasn't seen herself.
I haven't seen myself. And like, I think it was like 15 years at that time because she really hated her body. She had gained a lot of weight. And I said, oh gosh, I gave her a big hug. And, if I was a traditional therapist, maybe I would have done some cognitive therapy and talked about blah, blah, blah. That's not what she needed. She needed evidence that she was a sexy woman despite her weight, but that it really had to do with her. Right. And so I kind of gave her the tough love hug and I said, just hold my hand. I want you to do me a favor. And so we're going through the store. I said, I want you to try this leather jacket on and I want you to put these little boots on. And I just want you to twirl around and give me like 5 seconds in the mirror. And then you can come back and look at me. And she's shaking and she's putting the stuff on and she looks in the mirror. And then it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, she just kept staring at herself. And then the tears started happening again. But this time it was tears of joy. And she just says, Kimmy, I have not seen myself look so beautiful in so long. And I started crying, like we're giving each other hugs. And then I created a monster, quite honestly, because then she was skipping through the store. It was like this thing just kind of unleashed in her.
Oh, yeah. The switch.
And she was changing with the door open. I mean, here's a woman with body shaming ish and all that stuff. And we got her some great outfits. We did a whole photo shoot. It was so beautiful, to the whole process. She put those pictures online. She started dating up a storm with intention. I call it data dating. And I gave her some assignments along the way. And she really started like getting this thing called dating. And I said, look, while you're under my watch, I don't even want you to get a boyfriend. You're not allowed to. You need to learn to just date yourself. What do you like? What don't you like? Look at some things that you've never looked before, and you need to change habits that you have been getting into that has been attracting, what you did. So she did. And eventually she found this great guy. He was not a narcissist. She was ready to graduate, get out of kindergarten into the PhD dating program. And I think they're still together today. This was years ago, but I share that long-winded story to almost give a snapshot into like how the pillars can really work for people. And everyone has different things that they're working on, right? Like there's no cookie cutter approach to this stuff, especially later in life. We all have baggage. We all have different things that have happened.
Do you find that, I mean, the thought that just came to me is that do you find that some people try to see what's working with other people and then try to match that instead of just being what we're comfortable with ourselves?
Oh yeah. That's why I always say the most crucial thing, like as you're getting back out there after divorce, is to find yourself some good wing woman. I mean, that is so important. I have another whole story around that with me. I mean, my life changed when I got 3 other women girlfriends who were just getting out of divorce as well. And we called ourselves the Sex and the City Gals. we
in LA.
No, in LA, right. And we went to a venue every week, like a different venue, and we just would practice flirting. And each of my friends were good at different things. That's what I've learned is like, there's no like real formula because it has to be authentically you, right? Like, and it was finding like what I felt good in and seeing what other women were doing. Like one woman, like she was good at like the hair twirl. Like she would walk in and she'd literally do this and like guys would flock to her. I'm like, well, okay, that's not exactly me. Another woman, she did it all with her eyes. She was shy, but she would do this 3-second rule that I teach in class. And just look at the guy. And all of a sudden the guys would just like be next to her. I'm like, oh my God, that's magic. How did you do that? And then another girl, she used humor. And so for me, I just kind of mixed it all together. I made it my own and what I was comfortable with, but then I played it up so that guys really knew that I was, giving the signals, but it took practice. It's a skill. Dating and flirting is a skill. And if you've never learned it, how do you do it? You got to practice.
I know. And it was so weird for me when I got divorced that first time and all of a sudden I had a new body, right? Like this whole new body that I was learning. I mean, I remember my mom and I would go to dinner somewhere and I'd go to the bathroom or something. I'd have to run off and I'd come back and she'd be like, Becky, all these guys just like, and I was one of those people when I was younger, my best friend was that way. Like
Oh,
she
yeah.
just had this sex appeal about her that everywhere she went, she had like guys flock. I mean, she was sick and she had 9 guys bringing her tissues. And then for me, I could be throwing up, on the side of the road and nobody would stop. So I had no clue how to do that. And when I started seeing the power of not only being attractive, it wasn't even so much attractiveness, it was the confidence that I felt within myself. When I walk into a room, I commanded respect because of what I had been through and the work that I had done. And it made all the difference. And I always tell people, they say, Becky, are you mad at men for the way that they respond to you now? And I'm like, no, they're human beings. They're just responding to the energy that I'm putting out there. So it is a really powerful, and you have to be careful. I mean, what would you say about this is that being careful of that energy too, because men can get manipulated by certain things by using, I should say that they become vulnerable. There's something about confidence and beautiful, confident women.
Well, I guess I would push back and ask what's scary about that? Like what is wrong with having a bunch of men finding you desirable, right? Like and I think that's more the woman's journey. And if you've never had that attention, it could be super scary. And I know a lot of women like their excuse for not doing it, they'll say, well, I don't want a man to like me just for, being a
Exactly.
sexual
Yeah.
object, or I want him to like me for my intelligence, blah, blah, blah. And that's fine. Except that what happens is that, like if you look at the definition of flirting in the dictionary, it's fascinating. And I teach this in my flirt workshops. By the way, I have a flirt workshop coming up too, that I'll talk about too.
That's right. I think we have a QR code.
Yeah. Well, the QR code, I don't see it now, but
Okay,
if it
I'm
is,
going to turn it on. Hold on one second.
yeah,
We're going
is
to try something new
actually,
today.
I don't know. This is super cool. Oh my God, I love that.
There
Yeah,
we go.
this is actually a flirt quiz that you're seeing. And if you go to flirtover40.com, you take the quiz and you can see what kind of flirt you are. And some of these insecurities might pop up in some of the questions and also in the answers. So I think this is a good place to start if this all sounds really scary to you. But in there also, you'll get some emails, some videos from me and tips on flirting. And then I have this flirt workshop. It's February 25th, depending on when you're watching this, at 4:30 Pacific. And it's co-ed. So it's so much fun because I do a PowerPoint, I teach flirting, but then we go into a breakout room and we actually practice with each other. Cause
That's
to
awesome.
me, right, it's not enough to just like watch like a webinar. Like you have to practice it. And here's the thing. Anything that feels uncomfortable, like any of the stuff that we're talking about, and to your point, Becky, like there might be women listening to this and be like, oh my God, this is super scary. It usually means that's the one area that you really need to move towards, not away from, because we don't change in a state of comfort. We only change in a state of discomfort. We can do things that are comfortable all day long. You could stay in your cocoon and not put yourself out there all day long, but that's not going to move the needle. And if you're scared to actually do that, it might mean you're in a tug of war with yourself. It's like you want it, but you don't. So it's this constant, and the best way of doing it is just doing these like small steps. So you don't have to like be Jessica Rabbit or like Becky, the bulldog, walking in the room like you did and like you totally got down, but you had to start somewhere, right?
Well,
Like,
and I was practicing too. I was practicing and seeing what worked, what didn't work. And I always say to people, dating is just an experiment. Not to take things personal, just go and try something and see if it works and if it doesn't and what kind of response you get, especially if this is so new for you. It was new for me. I had never had men look at me like that or treat me that way. And so I did get resentful at some point. I remember calling a business partner of mine going, I hate it. I walk into this one convenience store and all these guys are staring at me and I was all dolled up in my business suit and high heels and everything. And he's like, Becky, why would they not look at you? And I'm like, okay, all right. It's a new thing. And so I had to learn to navigate and make it healthy for me and honor and respect the fact that I was getting that kind of attention and it's okay. It's not an attack, right? So it's experimenting.
Absolutely. Experimenting is a good word. I love that you said that because I talk about that a lot, like not getting attached to the outcome, but more of the experience of it. And that's something that even with just dating, like for the sake of dating without getting attached to the boyfriend,
Yeah.
flirting without getting attached to, oh my God, what's he going to think? Or he's going to like me for, just a sexual object. It's like it's putting the power back on you.
Mm.
And once you do that, the world is your oyster. You can turn down play dates, you can say, thanks, boys. I mean, that's where our power is. It's our feminine power. And to
Yes.
not be scared of it, but to embrace it. And for a lot of you out there, that can be super scary and triggering. And also, I want to say, with also care as a therapist, I know if there's been sexual abuse in your past or any kind of abuse, it can be really triggering. So just make sure that you get help around that, because that's real. And there could be some PTSD that really can like freeze you when it comes to dating. I mean, and it even leaks in your body language. I had a woman that I worked with, and she was sexually abused, and she had done all this work on herself, and she even was dressing the part. She looked great. But then when I saw her in the field, she literally, when men would talk to her, she would back up. Like there was a space like that between, and she had no awareness that she was doing that. I'm like, do you realize you keep backing up when you're talking to men? She's like, I had no
So
idea.
this is another reason why you got to have experts around you to give you that feedback in a loving, caring way. Another thing that just came to me, also, Kimmy, was that I remember really one of the first things I did after my first divorce, and I was kind of in that transition, is I went dancing, because dancing allowed me to surrender to my feminine. And I love dancing. That's actually how my second husband got me, because he's a dancer. But I learned how to let go of my masculine, because I was very masculine, and lean into that feminine and let a man lead me. And I use that as my exercise every week to go from that masculine energy to the feminine. And it was hard. It was hard at first, I'll be honest with you, but it became a beautiful analogy for me to be and attract these men, because the more feminine I was, I would be attracting more masculine men.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, we could talk forever about this.
You seriously are like a sister. I'm not kidding. That's another one of my journeys and stories. I took salsa dancing right after my divorce, and for the same reason. And now at every retreat that I do, I always do salsa dancing and teach about the feminine and the masculine. I do co-ed.
Girlfriend, we got to do another show. I'm telling you.
This is ridiculous. And guess where my next retreat is? It's in Puerto Rico. So we're dancing in the streets.
Awesome. I think that's one of the best ways to get into your feminine, honestly, because, and I actually just talked about it this weekend, about how the man has got to be the leader. He's like, and some people may find, I mean, whatever reasoning for me, the man's the solid leader. And as soon as I surrendered to that, and sometimes I would dance with my eyes closed, and really, really feel his lead. Because I was so tight at having to control everything. And I can't even tell you the change that happened inside of me in getting to that feminine, where now it was like, and that's why
amazing. That's amazing.
That's what I said, earlier is that I realized that, being in your feminine is a very powerful tool. Very powerful tool.
Very powerful. And it is in the body, not in the head. And so I work with so many high achievers and like women who are like up there in the workforce, and they're having to like really use a lot of that masculine energy. 99.9% of them all tell me, I can do it all. I don't want to do it all.
I know.
But yet if you don't allow it, that receiving energy, then you won't have some guy give to you. Like it comes from me. It's a yin and yang. It's like everything that we're talking about.
And no man wants, I can't even tell you how many men came to me. And that's why I wrote that little book is that I was like, the men want to be men. They want to lead. They want to protect. They want to but it's just like a dance on the dance floor. They cannot lead if you do not let them.
Right. Exactly.
So, and then they're like, this is so frustrating. I'm like, I know. So we could talk forever, girl. And this is, I think eventually at some point I will transition to the dating thing, because it's just really a very, very important thing. Because I actually don't know. Did you remarry?
I did not, but I have a boyfriend, and I had like beautiful relationships along the way. For me, my kids were so young. I didn't want to get remarried.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I tell people all the time is what's cool about dating in this modern era is that there is no like sense of time anymore. And you can really define a relationship however you want to. Like there are situationships, there are travel companions, there are people who still want to get married. Like it really, you get to choose. And to me, that's so beautiful. But the problem is not a lot of people are very clear in what it is they want. They kind of go back to the old paradigm of what they think that they should want. So it's like, oh, I better get remarried. And maybe that's not what they want. For me, it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to raise my children and have beautiful partnerships. And so that's what I did, you know? And so it's just, you have to get that clarity for yourself.
Well, thank you for staying in this business.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't think I could ever leave. I'm really passionate and I just have a bigger message and I'm determined to keep helping others, especially in the second act.
Well, you probably never imagined when we first met all those years ago that I'd be bringing you back on a Divorcing Strong podcast.
I know. Well, we are here now and there's a reason for everything. And so I loved being here. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, I always like to end my podcast with one last question. And I love it because, and I usually don't tell people beforehand, just to be totally transparent, just because I love the authentic answer to it. But what does divorcing strong mean to you?
You know, it's I love that you use the word strong with divorce. It's almost an oxymoron in a way because you don't think of it that way because divorce has almost a bad or negative connotation to it. But the reason why I like strong is it's putting a positive spin on it. And to me, it's about perception. It's the way you view it and it's the way you go through it. And so looking at those two words, there's a fork in the road, maybe for some of you who are just getting back out there. And you could look at divorce as something that will knock you down, right? And maybe you're in the boxing rink and you just feel like you're a victim to it. And in the beginning, most people do feel that way, but just know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that there is life after divorce. So get back up, from the rink and build the muscles strong so that you can move on. But it does take those little action steps. So that's what it means to me.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yes, it's the reason why we're doing what we do. So thank you so much, Kimmy, for joining us. And obviously, all of your information will be down at the bottom. Get the QR code. I put it on your side because I wanted to show up on the shorts.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Because go and get your flirting tips because it really does matter. It matters just in the world and your happiness. I think it gives you good feedback that really your presence has everything to do with the results on the outside and what you attract. So thank you. And hold on just one sec. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining another episode of the Divorcing Strong podcast. I've been your host, Becky Sampson, been talking to Kimmy Seltzer, and she's amazing. All right. Go check her out. Go to her website, connect with her, especially if you're coming out of the divorce and you want to have a whole new reset and experience in relationships. And we'll talk to you later. Thanks for joining. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to the Divorcing Strong podcast. This episode is sponsored by Only Subpoenas, where we make subpoenas simple, powerful, and 100% compliant. If you're having a hard time getting the information you need to settle for a fair and equitable divorce, let us help you. Whether you're an attorney or you're navigating divorce on your own, subpoenas can uncover the truth, secure the evidence you need, and level the playing field. To see how we can help, book an appointment by visiting our website at onlysubpoenas.com.